Why is it important to let the public know about COPD and its effects?
It's one of those diseases that is slow going, and but once it takes hold, that's the damage is done. So early detection is really the most important thing with that disease. So trying to bring people to be honest with themselves about how they're feeling, and if they might have it, is the most important thing, so that they can have really as normal lives as possible, because the disease is just progressive.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questioning. Okay, let's start in the back.
Steve Richards with PRN. Danica, how are you happy the season's ending? Would you like it to go past Homestead? Do you need a break, or we're winding down here?
I definitely showed concern years and years ago about the length of the season, and that was kind of one of the things that really, in my mind, held me back from wanting to commit to NASCAR. But now that I'm in it, and I feel like I've had a nice transition into it, I don't mind at all. I like racing every weekend, and so the season could keep going or not. I never turn down off time, and there's definitely a lot of stress for sure, and it's a lot of work, but it's fun at the same time. So the season could keep going which is surprising to me. I thought I would be very tired by this point in time, but I feel like I'm just kind of figuring it out.
All right, we'll go to Shannon here in the blue.
Shannon Spake, ESPN. When you look at junior motorsports and the opportunity that team gives drivers who are making in NASCAR, when the sport's most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., gives you his endorsement, how does that affect you?
Very positive. Between Dale Jr. wanting me, giving me the chance to run for his team, and then, of course, more recently, Tony Stewart with Stewart Haas. I mean, those endorsements are really big for me in the garage area. I think it helps with drivers too. Although I feel like you still need to go out there and you still have to earn their respect when you race against them. But perhaps there's a little bit more established from the beginning. So it's very important, and I think it's played a big role in in being accepted in the sport like I have.
Okay, let's come up from to Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Menzel from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Danica, after full season on Nationwide and next year full season in Sprint Cup, what's your expectation for 2013? Is there any expectation from yourself or maybe from your sponsor?
I think it's difficult to establish what my expectation will be right now for Sprint Cup next year. But I mean, I think that it's going to be a build from where we are right now, and I think Tony Gibson and I we should probably have a very specific conversation. I think it will happen over the winter about exactly what our expectation levels should be at the beginning of the season, and it probably varies track to track a little bit, but overall, where do we hope to qualify, and where do we hope to race, and what do we hope that happens with lap time in the race and competitiveness with that. And I think that'll be something that we'll sort of establish over the winter when we have time to reflect and think about it, and look forward to next year. Right now, I feel like it's just about getting familiar with each other and getting these two races under our belt.
Good.
What does that even mean, under our belt? I just thought about that. Under our belt. Get these. I don't really know what that means, but anyway.
Danica, Mark Armillo with the Arizona Republic. Over here. You could just talk about your thoughts on racing the Cup car for the first time in Phoenix.
I think it's really good that I'm doing this short track race. I think short tracks are something that I need to get more comfortable with. Although I think it's really come along this year. I think some of my better nationwide races have actually come at places like and so it'll be a good experience for me. like Still and Darla. For 5 Fun logo on the front of both my 7 and 10 GoDaddy car. He announced that I was going to be in both of them, and that was definitely news to me yesterday. Great news.
All right.
I feel like I really slammed all my info into that one. That felt like maybe one of my best. The ladies over here are so happy with me.
All right, Marty.
And Joe.
Yeah.
Sorry, you weren't standing next to them.
That must be because you have so much experience under your belt. That was fantastic.
Whatever that means. Did you just get here?
No, I've actually been here for 10 or 15 minutes.
I was joking with him last week about just arriving. He's like, how could you tell?
There are 2 gentlemen vying for the Cup Championship with distinctly different resumes as it pertains to championships. What impact do you think each of them would have if they do go on to win the championship for the sport?
Well, you obviously have Jimmy, who's done it a handful of times, and it's an incredible feat, and he's on his way to continue to break more records there probably. I think it's definitely an interesting story with Brad and how he he's only been in the series for a little short amount of time and accomplishing really great things, and I think that we saw the success in Nationwide as well with him. So he's you have probably a little bit different approaches maybe. I mean, Jimmy has the experience, and Brad has, I wouldn't say he has the fire, but he's young, and he's, it's new and it's not been attained yet. So I don't know what that kind of brings up inside of him versus someone who's done it so many times. But experience does tend to pay off. So I'm sure it's going to be exciting. I look forward to watching it. I'm not going to be racing Cup next weekend, so I'll be sitting on pit lane watching it all go down and watching with excitement like everyone else will. But I think that they're both good stories. I think that everybody loves to see a legacy and a dynasty like Jimmy has. That's just something really special in sports. And Brad's story is just new and exciting.
Who would you rather see win and why?
I don't really know. I don't think I could answer that. I mean, I think that I like Jimmy and I like Chad, and I know them pretty well. I know Chad pretty well, and so I tend to cheer for the people that I know best. But I also love a new champion, and I love a little bit of an underdog, and it's probably impossible to kind of describe Brad as that. But with a guy like Jimmy that's done it 5 times, I guess you would almost have to put him as the underdog. So I don't know. I cheer for both stories.
All right, good.
Hi, Danica, to your right. Good morning. Lewis Frank, Reuters and Speed Week. Looking ahead to Daytona next year, 500-mile race, and a weekend like last weekend, how does that affect, I know it's not a plate track, and I know you like Daytona, how does that affect you? You're being in a car 3.5 hours. How does that affect you?
Sorry, did you say this weekend?
No.
Next year?
Next year in Daytona, 500-mile race. Last weekend you were in Texas, 500-mile race. How, what did you learn? What did you like? What didn't you like?
I feel like most of my races have been 500 miles this year and a 600. Gosh, when those 400s come up, I'm like, this is like a walk in the park. I remember my getting back into a Cup car for the first time for a couple of months at Darlington, and I think the nationwide race was like 130 or 60 laps, and it was way more than double that in the Cup car, and that's an intimidating number. So I think this year I remember talking about it just last week or two, that the Cup races are really just so long, and they do kind of feel like that at times. It feels like the first 100 takes a while, and then you think, wow, we got 200 left, and all of a sudden it's the last stint, and it's go time. So things definitely go by a lot quicker once you get in the groove, but it's just something to adjust to and something to get used to. No different than a schedule and getting used to traveling every week or something like that. So I'm already kind of getting used to it a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, David.
Hey, Danica, David Newton, ESPN.com. You're going from a nationwide point system that's been pretty exciting this year to the chase format next year. Do you have any preference when you look at the way these things play out?
It's supposed to be realistic. The chase is a pretty long shot for me coming next year. So I don't know if I really have put a lot of thought to it, although you never know. Anything can happen. So I think that for me that will be something that will come up in the years to come as that becomes more realistic and something to shoot for. But I am all for anything that makes the sport more entertaining, makes more news, and brings more sponsors in. I'm sure that being someone that leads the championship going into the chase and then being even with 12th is, or basically even, is definitely it's definitely disappointing on some level. But at the same time, if that's what keeps the sponsors and the fans engaged, then that's what we need to do.
All right, go ahead.
Danica Patrick, PIR. Hannah Newhouse is a 15-year-old driver who's entering the K&N series. I just wanted to know your thoughts about her.
15? They can race at 15 now? Well, how old am I?
I was just wondering. She said you painted the ideal picture for women drivers. Any thoughts about that, and where's she going?
I painted the ideal picture. Wow. Well, that's very flattering. I always encourage young drivers coming up to, not want to be like me, but be better than me. And, that's what I thought when I was growing up, is I just wanted to be better than everyone. And I always felt I never really had an idol or somebody like that I wanted to be like, I guess. And I didn't know why then, but I think internally I always knew that, I was maybe different, or I don't know. I didn't let other people guide me on what I should be looking to achieve necessarily, or a path to take. But that's very flattering, and thank you. And but I think that you have to just have the big goal in mind, and then let it take its course. There's not one certain way to get to the top of racing, that's for sure. So it's a matter of taking the opportunities and being confident and knowing that they'll all teach you something.
All right, let's go back to Bob, and then we're going to end with Wolfgang.
Bob Pockers, a follow-up on the Super Bowl ads. How much do you think being in those ads increases your ability to get them to sponsor you to race? And what do you think the impact is in those ads?
For GoDaddy to sponsor me?
Correct, and possibly other companies in the future if GoDaddy ever wanted to not sponsor you.
Well, I think what it does is it just establishes not necessarily just my brand and GoDaddy's brand, but our brand together, and that we each, on some level, need each other. And I think that's a great scenario for someone like me, and I can only hope that works for the other person, this being GoDaddy. We've had tons of success together. They've become an incredibly big company and had a lot of success, and I want to keep that going, and I want to be a part of it. So I just think that it solidifies our branding together as the important part.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, Wolfgang.
Again from Germany. Danica, when the season is now over now, you summarize it. Is there any track you really like very much and one track you really don't like very much on the calendar?
You know, that this question kind of gets asked in various different forms, and to be honest, all that really matters is how you do at the track. So if it's a track that you do well at, you're going to like it. And sometimes that changes. Gosh, I remember being in IndyCar and going to Sonoma for the first time and just hating it. Just hating it. I remember I drove by one time and gave it the finger. I was like not in favor of Sonoma. And then I go back in 2007 and I qualify on the front row and I'm like, I love Sonoma. So I think that it's just it just depends on how you do, and I think that changes from time to time, from year to year.